Hi there everybody, this is Tony aka TTBurger88 and I'd like to welcome you all back to TTBurger Game Reviews. And this is part 2 of my SpyHunter series review, and those of you who saw part 1 know that I covered the first game on the PS2 and gave it a perfect 10 out of 10, and I consider it a must-buy game for the console. Today for part 2, I will be looking at the second game in this series, called SpyHunter 2, by Midway and Angel Studios. And this isn't just a sequel to the first SpyHunter game on the PS2, this is also a remake of the game Super SpyHunter that was also released in 1983. Sadly though, this game did not receive all the love and care that the first game did, which is sad because I really enjoyed that game, but this one felt very unfinished and overly difficult for no reason whatsoever, but I will get to that stuff later. Right now, let's talk about the story. The story takes place immediately after the first game, with a spy hunter who is now known as Alex Sex, who destroyed Nostra and their plan called the Four Horsemen, is out to destroy the remaining forces of Nostra, who still remain and are attempting to once again take over the world, and it's up to Alex to stop them in his new G8155 interceptor. This time Alex is not alone, he is also joined by Agent Duval, who is a part of the IES. And that's basically it. They don't even explain what their plans are to take over the world and such. It's like they put the story in at the last minute to get it out as soon as possible. I mean, I know the first game didn't have much story, but it basically told you everything you need to know about Nostra and their plan to take over the world and such. For SpyHunter 2's presentation, what happened here? First off, the graphics look very bland and uninspiring. I will say that the G8155 interceptor looks decent, but the backgrounds and enemy vehicles look like they came out of a PS1 game. Hell, the enemy models all look the same except for different colors. And even the backgrounds, while they are bigger, they look incredibly generic with nothing going on in them. And while the frame rate is okay, the game really looks worse than its predecessor. The sound is a little bit better than the graphics, but not by much. The music this time is very generic, ranging from techno and rock tracks that sound like they could be used in any other game, which is sad because the music in the first game was excellent and fit the game really well. There isn't much voice acting in the game to be considered good or bad, so I don't really have an opinion on it. The gameplay here is what really took a turn for the worse. First, to get the good parts out of the way, I will say the controls here have improved over the first game. The X button lets you go forward, while the square button lets you brake and go reverse, and the circle button lets you use the emergency brake, while the triangle button allows you to enter off-road mode to help you drive on rough areas. You can steer with the D-pad and the left analog stick once again. You can transform into a motorcycle anytime by pressing up on the directional pad, but I don't know why you would in the first place. You can switch targets by pressing down on the D-pad, and the R1 button lets you fire your forward weapon, while the L1 button lets you fire your secondary weapon, and the L2 button activates your shield, while the R2 button fires your rear weapon. However, you probably will not be using this weapon that much at all because the rear weapon is very weak and useless. Now I will have to say the controls have definitely improved here, and the new off-road mode is a nice feature to have. But now it's time for the bad parts. And oh boy, we have a lot to talk about here. First off, I will say that there are a total of 16 missions in this game, and while that is more missions from the first game, they are incredibly short, and they can be beaten in like 2 to 5 minutes or so. The main problem here this time is that you don't have secondary objectives you need to complete in order to get objective points to progress to the next stages. And I liked that in the first game because it required challenge. It required you to go back and decide what you needed to do later in the game. You just beat a mission and you get to the next stage. Also, the game is overly difficult for no reason whatsoever. I mean, I don't mind games that are difficult because I do like challenge in them. But this game is overly difficult to the point where the only way you can beat certain levels is to use cheat codes. And that made me mad because I do not like to use cheat codes to beat a game. But here, I had no choice. I can't believe that this is the best they could do for the sequel. I mean, the first game was great and memorable because it required you to think on your feet when completing the objectives and how to complete them. Here, all you do is basically shoot things, and that's basically it. And now for my final demerit. SpyHunter 2 is a huge step back from the first game. The only thing it improves on is the controls and nothing else. I give SpyHunter 2 a 4 out of 10. But we aren't done yet, people. You think this game was bad? Oh lord, stay tuned for part 3 where I will cover the SpyHunter game that killed and destroyed the series. That game is SpyHunter Nowhere to Run, based on the film of the same name that never saw the light of day. This is Tony, aka TTBurger 88. Peace out, and see you all in part 3.